And good morning. Welcome to our Focus on Stafford County show for this month. I'm Steve Webster, your host, back in the interview chair here this morning after taking care of County Edition today. And we get a chance once again to check in with all the great things going on down in Stafford County. There are quite a few of those, and making a lot of that happen with the help of the Stafford Countyonians. I don't know where I'm going with this, Carolyn. Carolyn Dunn, Stafford County Economic Development Director, joining us here on the program today.
Hello.
That was a great butchering of the English language, right? You are so proud that you can claim me as a Leadership Golden Belt alumni, right?
I am.
When I'm up here stammering and stumbling around. You're speechless. I've got you speechless here to start out the show today. See, this was a tie-in because what we want to talk about today was recruiting for Leadership Golden Belt. See, isn't that pretty smart?
Right. Well, we are in full-fledged mode of recruiting for what I realize now is our 7th class.
Wow.
Time kind of has flown. But the 7th class under this format of it being a regional program in partnership with Barton, Pawnee, Rice, and Stafford counties, and Golden Belt Community Foundation. So our class is forming now for the fall. It meets beginning August, the end of August. August 28th is the first class, and it meets over a 4-month period, a total of 7 times. We have a combination of community exposure, so we'll be visiting businesses, having some guest speakers, and so that there's an element of just getting to know our region and what's going on in it. But there's also an element that we include about just skills-based leadership development, and that's where we tie in with the Kansas Leadership Center in Wichita. We're one of 28 programs around the state that participates in that, and also gives us the opportunity to include within our class a 3-day summit in Wichita, which I think participants have found very valuable to gain inspiration and just kind of that value of moral support, maybe of people from around the state that are engaging the same kind of work that we are here.
How do people become part of the Leadership Golden Belt class?
Call us. We would. There's no specific requirement. More than anything, we just want people who are interested in seeing our communities develop better. So we would love for those interested in the Healthy Communities Initiative in particular to talk with us in Stafford County, because we have some scholarships specifically available for that. It's certainly if there's anything else that people are interested in, we won't exclude them. But we kind of see this as an opportunity to develop some people that in turn have the ability to take our Healthy Communities Initiative even to another cliche, but to another level. So we've got some things developing there that are kind of exciting. And that might really work well with Leadership Golden Belt. But other than that, the skills-based curriculum that we're talking about applies to anything. It can be anything civic-wise. I mean, I think people who come out of this program and really latch on to the concepts behind it find that it applies to everything they do in life, whether it's the way that you interact in your families or in business or whatever. But, our purpose here is to further the common good in a civic sense.
As an alumni, I can tell people that if they're going to get in this, it's not going to be going to someplace and sitting down and just listening to some people. It challenges people. Leadership is not always a comfortable thing. You will feel uncomfortable at times during the process, not in a bad way, because it challenges the participants.
Right. It's not the kind of class where you go and listen to the 10 points of what you should do. What we're trying to do is to cultivate a thinking approach to thinking, how you can process a situation and exercise the best leadership in that. Nobody can tell you what that's going to be in any given situation, any infinite number of situations around the world, but we can teach you some things to consider as you are working through those situations, ways that you can look at the situation, decide what is the most important thing to focus on here, or what is it that I can think about and how I manage myself and my reactions to others or my way of approaching others that will keep the situation calm in a good way and progressing. Or, sometimes it's that idea of, I got to do something. We sometimes wish that better things would happen, but are reluctant to jump in there and do something. Well, we'll talk about that in a leadership sense too. How do you so-called intervene or just do something?
My favorite term was turn up the heat.
Right, the concept behind that. A lot of us are by nature, we want to avoid conflict. We would love it when everyone is happy, but sometimes that environment is not actually where progress is occurring. So how do you consider ways to, so as you say, turn up the heat, propose some action that may not always be comfortable, and yet don't let it get too heated, because when everybody's fighting and arguing, progress isn't happening either. So that's the stuff we talk through, and it's not a class where we're going to stand up there as the facilitators and just give you the 10 points and you need to take notes in your notebook. We're going to do this in a very interactive way so that you're processing it and say, oh, I get it. When I was in X meeting last month, that was a good example of how this works. And you'll share that with the class, and we'll talk through these ideas or how we could apply them to future situations.
There are some success stories with what has taken place in these classes. One of those is just a great organization that's turned into just amazing group here in Great Bend. That's a Young Professionals group of Great Bend, which kind of got its seeds from Leadership Golden Belt.
That is true. I can sometimes forget all of the things that have stemmed from it. The Friends of Cheyenne Bottoms is another one. I would even say that Stafford County Economic Development had a lot of influence from this program. So it's very gratifying for me in my little part in the program to see that there have been so many good things that are in turn touching people that have never been a part of Leadership Golden Belt directly at all. And Young Professionals is a great example of that.
There's some other ones there as well. And this is, are you going to be a facilitator again this year then?
I am.
And who's going to be assisting you?
But there's also some new facilitators. And I think the idea behind this is that we want there to be a good broad bench of people that can carry this program forward for many years to come. And so we're kind of developing our own leadership within the program to have a broader range of facilitators. And joining us this year will be Brandon Steinert. He's from Great Bend, and Laura Smith from St. John. They've recently participated in leadership training through KLC and are just gearing up to be great facilitators. It'll be a lot of fun. So
again, that's coming up here. Is any deadlines or anything? Or well, go ahead. You're going to make a point. Go ahead.
No, I also don't want to overlook the idea that Sue Cooper, who has been a part of the program in facilitation in years past, is also going to be one of our 4 facilitators this year. So in terms of deadlines, I'll just say the sooner the better.
I like that. That covers that covers it.
Classes do begin August, and that's not that far away. So for us to line up materials, get everything ready, it's don't wait.
It was a very interesting journey. I will say that.
I have learned to understand that people do process the experience in a different way. It's not your everyday sit and get type of conference. It is interactive. We and we're also going to try a couple of new things this year in terms of how we define a kind of a class project that people will apply these concepts to. So we're always trying to evolve the program and make it all the more purposeful and useful to those who are in it and the community at large.
Carolyn Dunn joining us here today. She is Stafford County Economic Development Director and has helped bring a lot of leaders to the Golden Belt. You were on this program. I can't even remember how long ago this was. We were starting to talk. You're all excited because we're going to get some tax credits and build some housing. Everybody's talking about housing right now. And it's really exciting when you can actually say, okay, we got this concept. We're going to need tax credits. Now we're going to see you have apartments going up in Maxville, right?
We do. I was there just yesterday, and it's just fun to walk through, and you can really feel what that space is going to be like to live in. It's all, I guess they call it dried in. It's the outside is complete. They were finishing up putting some siding up there, and it's on the inside all framed in. And we're on schedule. It should be ready by about the end of September for occupancy, and they're available for purchase or rent. The asking price for purchase is $299,000, which is a good buy because it's less than cost of construction. And they're also available for rent at $700 per unit. They are, I guess I'll just plug, if you are interested, give us a call at 620-549-3527. So, some of the features of it, they are each 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath units. They have about 2,080 square feet of living space. It's an open concept, so it's a modern layout and very open feel. It's got even vaulted ceilings in the living room. On the main floor, there's a master bedroom and bath, a half bath. And then in the basement, we have 2 additional bedrooms. It's fully finished. A family room and a bathroom, so it'd be really well suited for a family or even roommates where there's kind of some separation of living space. They're energy efficient, for one, just by the nature of having so much of the living space in the basement that's efficient to heat and cool. But secondly, we have some features like an on-demand hot water heater that adds to the energy efficiency of it because you're not paying to have water just heated and ready. So we think it'll be a good place for someone, and hope that we get a few calls on taking a look and seeing what they'll.
Yeah, this is just a start. Why was this a priority in your area?
The lack of modern, affordable housing is both a symptom of and a barrier to economic development. So we've just not had a lot of investment in housing for several decades. If you look at the statistics, less than 3% of our housing inventory has been built in the last 20 years. So there's just been, and the average age of house in Stafford County is about 84 years old. So you can see that there was just a lot of housing development early on when these towns were formed, and maybe, for a few decades after. And then there's just been a long period of time when we just haven't had a whole lot of housing investment. So what we have now is older, in deteriorating condition. It may not have some of the features that modern families expect, like, more than one bathroom, or, the electricity may not be wired for all of the appliances and electronics we have for today. They may just need a lot of extensive renovation that a young couple may not either be capable or can afford to do. So we just need modern and affordable housing. Okay, so it's been a symptom of the idea that we've had some population decline, but now it becomes the barrier to, if someone does want to move here and there's not a good place to live, what happens? As I've written these grant applications, I've come across lots of anecdotes and found that, superintendents in particular have been very supportive of, writing letters to endorse these applications, because they say they become accidental real estate agents every time they hire staff. One of the anecdotes that came through was in 2000, I think it was 11. It was either 2010 or 11. Maxville hired 5 new staff to their school, none of which ended up living in district because they couldn't find a suitable place to live. So those are the challenges we're dealing with, and why we decided, even though, it's a risk to build new construction because it's hard to recoup those costs in, whether if you're selling it or whatever, it can be hard, but we decided that the risk was needed. It was worth it. And because we know that someone has to address this, and it isn't going to happen unless we do. So
Tax credits. Tell me how this program works, and they're still available.
Right. We had received 2 statewide grants that helped us get going in this. One of them was the moderate income housing program from Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. This was a traditional grant. They provide you cash directly to contribute to your housing project. The other one was a community service tax credit, and this works a little bit differently. What they've given us authorization for is issuing tax credits for those who make a contribution to the program. So it can be a business or an individual, but they will write a check to Stafford County Economic Development. I'll use an example of a round number of, say, $1,000. We then have the authority to issue them a credit that they'll use when they file their Kansas income taxes that would give them $700 off of their Kansas income taxes. So 70% credit. They give us $1,000. They reduce their Kansas income tax by $700. The other part of that, though, is that because we're a 501c3 nonprofit, their contribution to the organization is also deductible at the federal level. So in the end, you can really kind of choose where your taxes go. It may not cost you any more than what you'd otherwise be paying in a combination of federal and state taxes, but you get the additional benefit of contributing to a good cause here locally that you can see of your choosing. And so we have placed an amount of those credits that allowed us to go ahead and start with our first duplex, but we also have land that has been identified that we own in the town of Stafford, where we intend for our second duplex, same design, same thing to go, but we haven't fully placed all of those tax credits. So we still need contributions so that we can capture all of the grant and keep this project going throughout the county.
This has to be fantastic that, as you said, you've got the buildings up, they're getting close, and now people can actually say, okay, so this is what this is all about.
Right.
Instead of telling, bricks and mortar are easier to sell maybe than a concept sometimes, right?
I think so. It does. The day that we were laying it out, we said, this really feels like being a developer. We talk about economic development all the time. This is fun, though. We can actually see some of our own work. So it's probably for others, but it works for us, too, that it's fun to just see something concrete sometime.
Carolyn Dunn joining us, Stafford County Economic Development Director here on Focus on Stafford County today. We've talked about the Port Authority that is in the process of being developed, and one thing that has taken place since we talked to you last, Carolyn, the board has been named. I'm telling you what, there's some heavy hitters on there. You get Kent Lamb on there, I'm telling you, you're guaranteed success.
Well, I'm pleased, too, that we do have some really capable people named to the board. It is really the only thing that we have set in stone at this time.
Right.
It's still very early in the formation process, but that is what the newest development is. Our port board will consist of Kurt Fairchild, Clayton Grimmett, Shane Steinmates. Each of those are commissioners in Stafford County. I will also be a part of the board as Economic Development Director, and 3 other at-large members will be Glenda Hernandez of Stafford, Mitch Holmes of St. John, and Kent Lamb of Maxville.
What's next now?
Well,
now that you get the board, because we said it'd be the process. You had to go through the legislature, county commission had to start it, legislature, and now you had to name the board. And now what?
Well, the next step will be forming our articles of incorporation and bylaws. And so we haven't even met yet as a group, but we'll be meeting and kind of deciding what our priorities are. We may take a trip to some other ports and kind of see what they're doing that's working and what we might take as best practices. I recently had a chance to tour the Port of Catoosa, which is a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and came home feeling like there is no limit to what we could do here. It was kind of exciting, and I think that they would be very open to us talking with them and using them as a resource. So we may kind of start there, kind of establish how we want to go about this, because it's kind of like setting up a business. There's statute allowing corporate structure to exist, but how you carry it out, there's a lot of flexibility, and I think it's the same thing with setting up this port. We're kind of setting up our own business.
Explain the port just in case people they're listening. I've been to Catoosa, Oklahoma before. They got a big canal runs down through there, and it goes down through Muskogee and all on down south. They don't have nothing like that. No, the port difference maybe between an industrial park.
Exactly. I know when you think of port, you do think of water, and it's no secret we don't have any water in Stafford County, but it can be many other things besides a water port. It can be land transportation facilities, terminal facilities, railroad facilities, and that's going to be a key for us. We are on the main line BNSF Railroad at an intersection of two U.S. highways. So for us, that idea is key. Industrial use facilities. We do not have an industrial park of any sort in Stafford County currently. So that also is going to be key for us. I think a simplistic way of looking at it is that it's an industrial park with the kind of strategic benefit of being integrated with the major transportation infrastructure.
It all ties together, doesn't it? When you start talking about housing, roads, ports, schools, retaining your young people. Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, yes. I hope that it all does tie together very well, I hope.
Well, I like the way you talk about victories. It's one job at a time. Everyone wishes they would come in and land. Because one thing about if you build small, you gradually go up. If one of these places go, you lose 2 or 3. You lose 5 or 6. One of the things about hitting a home run sometimes is if you make an error. You bring in something with 300, and then, then 300 go all at once. Well, it's sometimes better to build small.
Right. Well, I also look at it as it's not as if you look at our population, and we have steadily declined, and it's not as if any one big employer pulled out. Mm-hmm. The converse of that, it's been, 3 here, 10 there, and so building it back, it may make sense to also focus on 3 here and 10 there.
Okay, we just got a little bit over a minute because John O'Connor, our morning, trading post legend of the Golden Belt, came out there. Hey, who do I need to talk to about getting into that Gray's studio? So, well, John, they're getting the outside done first, then we'll go inside. But you got John's interest. He wants to see what's going on down there.
Well,
so
anytime we'd be glad to host him or anyone else. It's another one that's been gratifying to see how it's come together, and I think they've pretty much completed everything on the outside. It'll be the inside next.
Well, we'll talk to you next week, see how that's coming along, and usually bring somebody with you too, so that'll be good. Bring them along anytime. Carolyn, thank you for coming up here today and talking about all the great things going on in Stafford County.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, Carolyn Dunn, our guest today on Focus on Stafford County on 1590 KVGB.